Okay, I'm here with a motion tutorial on how to make a transition out of a popcorn kernel. And what I wanted was a popcorn kernel kind of exploding across the screen as it transitioned from one video to another. This could be the dumbest transition that's ever been made, but I have a popcorn transition, and that's what I wanted. So by golly, I got it. I apologize for my language. We got a little bit excited there. First thing I'm going to do is open Motion. I'm going to click on Final Cut Transition. And I'm going to get organized. I'm going to make a new layer, call it popcorn, and I'm going to drag my image into that layer. From here, I'm going to hit the letter E, or I'm going to select Make Particle. And what that does is it's going to make that image something that I can manipulate over and over again. So essentially what I did here was I just got in here and I messed with some of these numbers. The emission angle, how do you want it to open up from that playhead position. The range, how wide. So 90 degrees and 100 degrees seem to work pretty well by the time I messed around with it, but they're not really moving very fast. Also, I want to change that to oldest last so that they come out on top of each other. So I'll get down here and I'll adjust the birth rate so that more of them come out. That's per second, I believe. And I'll get into the life, make them last for 10 seconds at a time. That's the full duration of the project, by the way. And the speed, I want them to come out a little bit faster. I like to add a little bit of randomness as well. And again, I got to these numbers just by tweaking them a little bit originally. Also, you want to note that motion is not playing back at full speed at this point, so check in the upper left-hand corner of the viewer there and notice that you're getting a slower frame rate. So that's set 12 frames per second. I'm going to add some angle randomness, and I'm going to add some spin randomness. Drag it back and try again. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit, Command minus. And I do want to drag that down below the bottom of the window so that it actually comes up from the bottom of the screen. So you're more than welcome to just experiment with this. And surely you don't want a popcorn transition because that's absurd. But use this as a basis for coming up with something else maybe. I'm getting the right idea here. What I want is when it gets to the middle of the transition, I want the screen pretty much covered with popcorn by the time it gets to the middle. The other thing I want is a little bit of gravity. So I'll go down to Simulations, select Gravity. And what that does is that pulls it down, hence the name Gravity. But I need it to do a little bit more than that by the time it gets to the end and not as much at the beginning. So I'm going to adjust it down a little bit at the beginning. Maybe reposition the center points a little bit. Maybe adjust the birth rate. So you can see it's just a matter of manipulating this just a little bit to where I get that explosion of emitters that I'm looking for. Starting to look pretty good here. Right now I'm working my way from the center of the transition, and that's kind of my basis. Once I get to that, I'm going to add some keyframes to get me out of the center to the end of the transition. Just a little reposition there to get most of the frame covered up with popcorn. Now I'm going to add a keyframe right there at the end of that first transition A clip. And I'm going to use the arrow to move back and forth between the keyframes because I want to add one on birth rate and on life. Right at the middle and again at the end. Double click and make that a 0. And I came up with the number 28. Seemed to work pretty well as I played through it previously. That's kind of the right idea, but right now I need gravity to take over and pull all of those popcorn kernels out of the screen. So I'm going to add a transition, or rather a keyframe there as well. So I want to get that playhead right on the keyframe in the middle. I'm going to add a keyframe here. Keep that at 10. And I'm going to drag the playhead out to the end. Add another keyframe. And then from here, it's just a matter of maxing out the gravity to a number that really pulls all those kernels down out of the screen. 400, not going to cut it. 600, not going to cut it. 700, getting closer. There we go. So right now I've got that explosion of particles. Remember, it's not playing back at full speed just yet. Those should fill the screen up by the time it gets to the middle of the transition. And then the gravity is going to pull all those kernels down and out of the screen at the end. If you want more tutorials on how to make popcorn transitions, then you do not want to subscribe to this channel, because I don't think I'll ever do this again. But I will occasionally make some tutorials. In this case, a lot of people were clamoring for popcorn tutorial transitions, and so I had to really meet the needs of the people. So there you go. Subscribe, click the like button, give me a comment, let me know how silly this is. Thanks for watching.